In this video of the chess set modeling series, we're going to model the king. The king may seem like one of the more complex pieces, and it is larger, and it does have some complexity to it. We're going to do a fairly straightforward method of extrusion. So we're going to extrude polygons, and we're just going to use a lot of sophisticated extruding and scaling and just a bit of merging and some matching of polygons in this. So it takes a little bit of time just because it's a large piece and we have to extrude each bit up, but it's pretty straightforward. It's yeah, we'll just pretty much be using extrusions and the modeling toolkit tools here. So all right, I'm going to go back over here to the layer. So I have a standard scene set up here. I have, this is the final mesh. So I have these, for this series, what I have is everything is already set up. So I have things by layers, and we'll just go through the tools to keep the lessons moving pretty quickly. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, here's the final mesh. I'm going to switch it off. So the key thing is, of course, is an image plane. These are very important to use image planes. And then this one, this is also the classic chess set designs. So this is from one of the very classic Staunton chess set styles from the 1850s when chess became kind of moved up in popularity as a game. Anyway, so yes, so we bring in image planes, and you can, depending what style you like, you can have them on in each window. I might switch this off in this window. So the way to do that is, because I just want to see the image plane in this window, and sometimes I might want to switch it on, switch it off over here. But just to review that, you would go over to the attribute editor, and we have to go over here and pick on the actual image plane itself. And also too, in the outliner here, I've made things into tight little groups here. That's just to keep things kind of neat and organized. You don't have to be as extensive as this in your files, but it is useful. All right, so I'm going to pick on, you have to pick on the object, you know, don't pick on the folder, you don't pick on the hierarchical level, you pick on the folder itself, and that will trigger in the attribute editor, which is this tab over here. And just to review, again, if you want to switch that off, if you only want to have it in one viewport, then you just click on this button and display. Okay, so now it only shows in this view. Okay, so there we go. We'll go back to the channel box here. All right, so we have our image plane here, and we're going to want to get to this. Okay, so we're going to start with this, just a cylinder. Okay, so I just created a standard cylinder. I'm not going to go through that part, but just using polygon primitives, cylinder right here, standard rendered box, straightforward, nothing special. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to start. We're going to start with one element. So you usually start with the element at the bottom, and you kind of make your way up, or some element within, if you're using extrusion technique and box modeling, as it's also called. So the first thing is we're going to try and scale down to get this form here. I'm not going to worry about this curvature in here, because that has to do with, it has a felt base on it, and we're not going to even get into that. So it's just going to go straight to the floor here, just for simplicity purpose, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I have everything, you notice all my layers are very neat here. So, and I have my checkboxes, I have all my view controls here. So they're all checked to R, which is for reference. So R means you can see the object, and you can see it in shaded mode, but you can't do anything to it, okay? Now, if you wanted to, you could also, if you wanted kind of a wireframe mode also, there's this, it's called template mode. So you can do that as well. And then if you don't want any of those things, you also have, you have your display controls over here too. So we could, if you want to go to wireframe, or you can type 4 or 5, 4, 5, okay? I know these get a little redundant, but just keep getting these things drilled in, because especially when you start modeling like this, you're gonna get more and more in circumstances where you're not always going to be going over to the icons. Okay. All right. So I do want this in. Actually, no. I want it in. I want to actually access it. Okay. So I want to pick it. So I'm going to pick the object. All right. I'm going to just scale this down. Okay. And let me check if I go to move. Yeah, I've already. So I've moved the pivot. I moved the pivot to the bottom of the object. There's a whole lesson and tutorial on moving pivots and moving pivots to the bottom of objects. So if you need to get a refresher on that, go find the very short video on that. So I've moved the pivot because the reason is I want it scaling down, because if I was scaling it from the center point, which is this default point, then it's a little trickier to kind of control this stuff. Okay, so I'm going to go to scale, and I'm going to scale it down. So I'm going to basically get it to this level here. And I'm going to scale it up again because I want to get the full max to that, the extent of that edge there. Now the reason I'm using the global tool here is because if I just hit on that red thing, it's like, oh, let me scale it in over there. You'll see what's happening is it's getting ovular here. So you definitely want to be doing a global scaling in this view. I mean, in this circumstance, okay? Okay, so there we go. Now you will do A, because this won't affect it as much, because this only goes in one direction, going in this way. So you have to be kind of careful when you scale with round objects. Okay, so if you see to scale it down, let's go on. So I'm going to go to this window, which I can get a much more closer view on. Okay, so I'm going to scale this down, and there we go. Okay, that's good. There we go. That's where I want to be. All right, now here's something interesting. Is I want to keep it closed on the bottom here, but I don't need these here, and they're going to make it a little tricky for the faces on the top. The faces on the top are going to make it tricky because I really want to be just extruding these nice quad forms, and I've gone over why you don't want to really be using triangles as much as possible for printing and for modifying purposes. There's a whole variety of reasons. So what I need to do is I need to delete all the faces on this top here. Okay, so I go over to my modeling toolkit. I can go to my select faces. Okay, and oops, let me press Q, so I'm just in the select tool. So you can just select on these, or we did go over the drag tool. We were looking for reasons to use the drag tool. So here's a possible, here's a nice reason why you can use the drag select. Okay, perfect reason. There we go. Oops, it wants me to continue. Oh, you know what? I need to have the shift. Wait, let me go here. Let me just start. It wants to be in one cycle. Okay, there we go. Now we found a reason to use the drag tool. All right, so now I'm going to hit delete, and they're going to go away. Okay, so I want to get off the drag tool. I'm going to go back to my pick marquee selection. Okay, so now again, I want to, with extruding, you want to, generally you're going to be extruding edges or faces. So you'll see why right now we're going to extrude with this face here. So I'm going to pretend like this is just a big cube thing here. Okay, or not cube, but it's just cylindrical here. I'm not going to worry about these little fancy little extras here. We can get to those later. But what I want to do is I want to scale a face into here, into this inner part here. So here's what I'm going to do. And here's a circumstance where I may want to switch on. Let's switch our image plane back on in all views. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, so we'll do that for this one. Okay. Because now what I'm going to do is having it here. This will be useful because then you can kind of see where we're going with this. Okay, so let me go back to the modeling toolkit. I'm going to pick on this object. I remember the selection. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the extrude tool. Okay, in the last lesson we saw that you may not want to be, this is, if you notice what's happening here, this is understanding the axis from the object. This is called object space. So we want to click on this button, and we're going to be now in world space. Okay, so this is the the X, Y, and Z axis space. Okay, so again, when you want to trigger this, you can move them, but what we want to do is be scaling. So you're going to hit any of these cubes. Any of these cubes will trigger the scale command. Okay, so now, and then the inner blue cube is going to show up. Then you're going to hit that one because you want this to be global scaling. Okay, so now look. Now, if you look what's going on, let me zoom in a little closer, because this is where having an image plane is nice. So I can scale into there, okay. Oh, look, I went past that drawing there. Oh, okay. Now I can see too, oh wait, maybe I need to move it up a little bit. This is kind of nice, okay. Actually, you know what? I don't want to do that there. I'm going to do it for both of these. All right. So let me, that's good. Let me click on this, and then I'm going to get the move command. So I'm going to type W, okay? Because I noticed that this probably should be, both of these edges should be probably here, okay? There we go. Okay, good. And that edge is hitting perfectly. It's exactly where I want it. Okay, there we go. All right, so now I'm going to select in the space here because I don't want to have any more extruding. So now what I'm going to do is you just keep kind of stepping up. You just keep extruding up. I'm going to do a few of these. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but you just, I'll share the process up to midway, up to maybe to here. And then from there, it just continues. You just keep doing this, okay? So let me get over here. Okay, so now what I need to do is I'm going to extrude up, and it's going to go straight up. So I'm going to go straight up, and then you'll see I'm going to flare it out, and then we're going to do another extrusion, and we're going to flare it in, and then we're just going to keep stepping it up like that, okay? So I'm going to go over here. This will be the best view to, or actually I could probably get it here. So let me try and, nope, yeah, it doesn't like picking it there. All right, so let me get it from this view. You want to be very careful about selecting your edges. So again, if you're in, you're picking. So if I'm picking right now, I'm using the pick command here. You can double click and it selects the whole loop. You see it's all turned brown around there. So now what I can do is I can go to the extrude command, and then again, it's got the local axis. You want the global axis. So you're going to pick on that. If you ever see that, if you want it moving from the center, then you're going to pick on that little circle there, okay? So I'm going to extrude it up, okay? And here's, I can actually do this all from the perspective view, okay? So now I'm going to actually scale out. So I pressed on the cube, and now I'm going to, you go to the blue cube, okay? Boop, boop, there we go. Okay, now here's where you're going to want to go to different windows. So you're going to want to go to this window. You're going to want to check it. For this exercise, I'm shooting for the outer parts of the drawing. Sometimes you want to do these a little more precise, but we're just doing this kind of fast and going through it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit extrude again. And we're going to see, now it's still selected. So now I have the same thing going on here. So I'm moving it up, okay? And I can click on that little cube there to get to my scaling. Then I need to click on my blue cube, okay? So you'll get used to this. It's going to be a lot of kind of going back and forth with this stuff, okay? So now let me go to this window here too, okay? I don't need that window, okay? So now there's also, you can just go back to continue extruding. So you can hit extrude again if you want. And then we could, basically I'm gonna just, because it's kind of pretty linear there. So I move it up, move by the axis, then I click the cube, then the blue cube in the center shows up, right? And then now when it's yellow, it's active, okay? So now I'm just kind of eyeballing this. I mean, if I was doing this really precise, I'd probably spend more time on everything. Okay, so now you can also type the G key, so you don't have to always go back here. G just repeats the last command you're doing. So you type G, it's going to do the same thing. Press the button there, and I'm going to hit the extrude. Okay, I'm going to scale it in. Okay, so basically you just keep doing this. You keep doing it all the way up. You just keep going the whole way. Okay, so let me get to well, I'll continue up through here, and then I'll just show you how it goes, okay? All right, so now we're gonna double click on this again. We're gonna hit extrude, click on this, so we get to global scale, or not global, but the global axis, the world axis. Actually, hold on, you know what I wanna do? I want to bring it up. Yeah, I'm gonna try and get this little lip here, okay? So I'm going to do the scale. There we go, okay? I'm going to type G, so it's going to continue with the command. Click on that button there. Click on this. Just watch what I'm doing. If you're watching the videos, just keep watching, and just, it's repetitive. You just keep doing this stuff, okay? So now we got an extrusion there, but I'm going to scale it in. I want to hit this little edge there, okay? And this stuff is just practice, basically, and don't get worried. If you don't get it just right away, just keep doing it, okay? The more you practice, the better you'll get at this stuff. And it's kind of repetitive, kind of tedious. Some people love it. Some people it drives them crazy. I'm going to do some extrusions up here. I'm going to go to this one, that one, and that one. And then there are ways you can get in and make these things more smooth, and there's all kinds of stuff you can do. So I'll type G again to get that command going again. Okay, I'm going to move it up. Actually, now I can use my snap key because I know these are grid lines. I mean, if you can use grids, please do grids. Grids are always good. Okay, so now we're going to hit scale it in. Then again, G to repeat the command, G, okay? Press this button to get our global axis. Pull on the pointer here. All right, now I can hold the X key to snap it, okay? And don't worry, if you don't like high keys or, you know, that stuff, you're just not getting it, don't worry about that. You don't need those right now, okay? All right, so I'm gonna type G again. Click on the little circle, move it up. I'm gonna hold the G key, or actually, sorry, the X key to snap it up. Yep. Then I'm going to click on the box there, scale it out so I can get the scale. Okay, so now here we go. Okay, so now you see it's starting to look like the piece, okay? Let me zoom out on all windows. So now you basically just keep doing this stuff, okay? You just keep cruising along. And let me go over here. Let me get to one of the, hit F8. Let me put this on its own layer because it's actually a new piece. Or is it? Yeah, okay, so I actually used the permit there, so okay. All right, so now, if I had done the whole thing, here's what would have happened, okay? I would have kept going with these things and just kept going up and up and up. Let me turn off the image plane here, okay? So then up here at the top, I needed another piece because it would be kind of tricky to use this form, the cylindrical form, to get the top cross there. So basically all I did for this was I just created a cube here, and I extruded out a face this way, extruded out a face that way, extruded out a face that way, extruded out a face that way, and did the same exact thing. I did the same thing that I did here and followed the image plane. Turn this off, turn the image plane on, did the same thing. You see the image plane right there? Let me go to this view. Okay. And it's just a matter of just, you know, extruding things out, adjusting. You can adjust in a whole bunch of ways. Like if you want to, like you can have vertices in here. So let me, so like say like you want to really adjust this stuff. All these things are all editable. Like if you wanted to pull this in, if you wanted to have both of them at the same time, you move them. You can scale them. So we're going to scale them out. So this is a really powerful way to do stuff, okay? And you'll see later on, like you're going to be pulling a lot of these polygons and basically you're getting these box forms. And then later you're going to add resolution in. So let me get to the next thing here. All right, let me switch off this piece here. All right, let me zoom out in each view. Okay, all right, there we go. All right, so then we would get to that with the base mesh, and then eventually you would get to this mesh here. So this is now everything's all tuned up. I've given it more resolution, and you know when we finally go to print it, you're going to put even more resolution in this. But you don't want to go too far because then controlling gets to be difficult. So what you get it to this level, and then we do the final pass before we go to 3D printing is then we would put another level resolution in here. But you have to start doing trick things, as we did with the pawn. Like sometimes when you're sewing things in together, like I had to sew these two pieces together because the cross And this is basically a model from a cylinder were different. They had different numbers of polygon lines. So I had to match the polygon lines and then I had to merge them together, which we're not going to go over in this lesson. Don't worry about that stuff. I really want you just modeling right now and getting forms. Don't worry about all the fussy little technical stuff that we'll have to get to for 3D printing and for animating. So let me switch that back on. Yeah, so that's pretty much how, you actually model the king piece. And it really is just, it's a cylinder and extruding the cylinder. It gets a little tricky to get used to, but once you get the handle on it, then it's fine. Everybody loves polygon modeling in Maya and pulling and tugging on vertices and things like that. It's a really very intuitive, very straightforward. Takes a little, like I said, getting used to, but once you do, then you'll be set, okay? All right, so that's it for this lesson here, and then we'll move on to one of our next pieces.